Hi all. I am sure that at this point in the summer you're sick and tired of watching me talk on a video, but I can't find any other way to do some of the things that we need to do in the course. Specifically, I like every couple of weeks to kind of pause and reflect on some of the important things that we've learned before we move forward in the summer. So there are really 5 things to this point that I would want you to really give some thought to, and that I think will be important as we move forward. First, I think the first couple of weeks we've spent a good deal of time talking about the way in which the ways that we think about evil have changed. You saw this in your reading of Charles Taylor, and specifically as you applied it to the poem Beowulf. 500, 600, 1,000 years ago, people simply assumed that evil was caused by spiritual forces in the world. At least that's Taylor's argument. Today, that certainly is not the case. There are lots of explanations for how evil happens. Not all of them involve demonic monsters or devils or demons or what have you. So that's the first thing that I think we've covered that is going to be really important. Second, the idea of supernatural evil, I think we have seen, is kind of grounded in religion. It's really hard for me to imagine a non-religious person, an atheist, for instance, who believes that evil is caused by demons. That just doesn't add up. So, supernatural evil is grounded in religion. However, we've also seen that, at least in Christianity, our understanding of what supernatural evil is may not exactly line up with what's actually in the sacred text. So we saw that it's difficult to look at Milton's Paradise Lost and say, yeah, that's how things are, and then to go back to the book of Genesis and actually find those things. Genesis doesn't mention that Satan was in the Garden of Eden. Tradition and scholarly interpretations of other books of the Bible have led us to think that, perhaps, but it's not actually there in the book of Genesis. So that's the second thing. Grounded in religion, not exactly the way that we think in every case. Third, the rhetoric of supernatural evil. And when I use that term, the rhetoric of supernatural evil, what I mean is the way of talking about evil that uses this idea of the supernatural. The rhetoric of supernatural evil raises some questions about human agency, the ability to act. Specifically, the question becomes, if we are open to being possessed by demons or other spiritual forces, can we really be held responsible for our own actions? That's a tough question, but I think The Exorcist really highlights that question. Do we hold Regan responsible for all of the horrible things that she does when she's possessed by that demon? I don't know. The next 2 things are kind of related to each other. Fourth, the rhetoric of supernatural evil seems to be what we turn to when we are trying to explain really, really horrific things. I don't think most people look at small little bad things that happen on a daily basis and go, oh yeah, that was caused by demons. Instead, we reserve that rhetoric for things like the Newtown, Connecticut shootings. Fifth, the use of supernatural evil as rhetoric. There are some very interesting connections to Beowulf with our modern day setting. And I'm thinking here specifically about the idea that was raised in the discussion forum. Someone posted the Andrea Yates story where a mother kills her own children. If you go through stories like that, oftentimes that person will be described as a monster, as someone who is beyond human comprehension in the scope of evil. And I thought it was really interesting that some of you pointed this out in the discussion forums. The same thing may be going on with Grendel's mother in Beowulf. She's a mother who doesn't behave the way that a mother is supposed to, therefore we call her a monster. So the idea here is that supernatural evil as rhetoric can be used to label evil in a way that makes it a little bit more comprehensible to us. So those 5 things, keep in mind as we continue the summer. We're going to make a transition now into something that is quite different from what we've been doing, but I want you to keep these ideas in mind and to think about how they contrast with and do similar things to both, so compare and contrast, the way in which this idea of supernatural evil is related to evil as an internal force, which is where we will turn over the next couple of weeks.